What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Football Diary, bringing you current football content every single week. And in today's video, we are going to be doing another game of the week. And in these game of the weeks, we typically like to pick games that we feel like not a lot of people are keying into this week because we felt like the biggest one I think most people are talking about is going to be Ravens Bengals. It's the only game this week, which is ridiculous, with two teams with a winning record or two teams that have above 500. There are some 3-3 teams playing other winning record teams, but teams with above winning record, the only one is Ravens Bengals. But we figured I still like, honestly, even personally as a Baltimore Ravens fan, I still like the Chiefs Titans matchup as the game of the week. I think that's the one I'm most excited to watching. It's going to be a lot of fun. Titans obviously coming off of a massive victory on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. I feel like they were a very slept on team going into that game. A lot of people expected the Buffalo Bills to go in there and just stomp out the Titans. But you know what? There's one man in Tennessee, okay? Quintorris Lopez-Jones is not that guy. It's definitely Derrick Henry, the best running back in football by far. He's just an absolute monster, carried the team on his back, ran all the way through every Buffalo defender, and brought them a victory because Josh Allen can't stay up straight when he's going for it on 4th and 1. He ain't no Lamar Jackson. But Matt, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about Buffalo. Or I'm sorry, not Buffalo. Let's talk about Tennessee versus Kansas City. What are you most looking forward to in this game? Is there any sort of matchups? Why is this the game of the week?
So I think this is the game of the week just because the slate of games this week, like you were saying, it's not that great in terms of like winning team, like a winning team playing another winning team. There's one matchup like that. And even that game has a 6.5 point line right now. So like there's not a ton of like super exciting, like really even matchups. This one I think is just the most exciting because it's going to be a shootout. The Chiefs defense is terrible. The Titans defense is terrible. And the Chiefs passing offense is, one of the best in the league. The Titans, though AJ Brown and Julio Jones are questionable, if either of them play or if both of them play, their offense is so stacked. And like you said, Derrick Henry willed them to a win against the Bills last Monday night. Like he's that good. Like he's that good of a player where just having him alone, especially against the Chiefs defense that, like I said, is not very good, he's going to have a huge game. Patrick Mahomes, I know Tyreek Hill is questionable. I expect him to play. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all of the Chiefs guys are going to go out there and they should have a good game as well because the Titans secondary is bad. So it's not even about like for me, like, oh, who's going to go and win this game? If it's like, because sometimes it's like when we do these, it's like, oh, this team is, this is the game of the week because this team should go out there and kind of prove themselves against this team. That's not what this is. This is just like, oh, you want to watch two really good offensive teams just absolutely have a shootout? And that's what I think is going to happen. Now, I say that now it's going to be like 17-20 or something. But this game should legitimately be like 30 plus points, like mid to high 30s, maybe even in the 40s for one of these teams. Like it should be like them almost scoring every single time. Now, the one thing that you do see in Titans game is the Titans can eat up the clock when they just start pounding the ball with Derrick Henry. So maybe we see that happen. But either way, we're going to see one of these offenses, if not both of them, absolutely explode this week. So I'm really excited for it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the star power on offense in these games is absolutely ridiculous. And how do you beat the Chiefs? It's not really about stopping them. It's about outscoring them. And the Titans have an offense, and they have a guy in Derrick Henry that can keep Mahomes off the field, and they can pound the rock. And they've beaten Mahomes before. They have beaten him before. And so the big question that I want to ask you, Matt, is the implications of this game. Because I feel like it does have some implications. No matter who wins, because I think a lot of people are writing off the Kansas City Chiefs for some reason. While they may not be as dominant a team as they have been in recent years, this is still, in my opinion, the best offense in the NFL. I think that it is the most difficult to stop. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. The issue is their defense has struggled. However, they still have some playmakers. So this could very well be a team in January that we're still watching going out there and dominating. But the Tennessee Titans as well, every year they start out really slow and everybody starts to go, you know what, this team's not that good. And then they get a couple of big wins and everyone's like, oh, maybe this team's good. And they always end up around the 9 to 11 wins. Typically it's 9 wins. Obviously this year there's one more game. So I would expect them to be winning around 10 games. If they beat the Chiefs, like what does that mean for the Titans? And not only what does that mean if the Titans beat the Chiefs for the Titans? What does it mean for the Chiefs? Oh, wow, they've lost another game. Obviously, they lost to Justin Herbert in the Chargers. They lost to Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. They lost to Josh Allen in Buffalo. If they lose to the Titans, it's not like they're losing to bad teams. Like, they're not losing to teams without stars. When they're losing, they are losing to superstar level players every single time. And then vice versa, if the Titans can't go out there and beat the Chiefs, is it just like one of those situations where you look at it like, yeah, the Titans are really good. Derrick Henry, only if he goes off, they can win a game. Is this team not that good? And does this put the Chiefs back on the map? Because I feel like a lot of people are leaving them out in Super Bowl contenders lists and things like that. If the Chiefs go out there and beat a team that just demoralized Buffalo in prime time, are they back on the map as like a contender in the AFC? Because I see a lot of people saying they're not a top 3 team in the AFC. They're not a top 4 team I've even seen in the AFC. And I still feel like they very well should be in that conversation. I feel like a lot of people are leaving them out. So how does the winner of this game impact how everybody's going to look at these two teams?
So I think it's tough because I don't think the AFC is like super great. Like, it's definitely not as good as it has been in years past. I still think the Bills are the most complete team. Like, they're the best team. I still believe that. I know they lost on Monday night, but like you said, it's one of those crazy Derrick Henry games, which happens almost routinely now, which is interesting. He has like, what does he have? 800 rushing yards. Insane. But I think both these teams, like any team that makes the playoffs, is a contender. You know, like, they all are Super Bowl contenders, but when you look at like, okay, like who's the real like cream of the crop, they don't have like huge glaring weaknesses. Neither of these teams are there. The Chiefs defense as a whole is pretty bad. Especially like, I mean, their linebackers aren't great. Their secondary, like Tyrann Mathieu, pretty good. I think he gets a little bit overrated. I still like him too. Like, I'm not trying to knock him at all. I'm saying like, but like, it's not like he's able to make up for like all the issues on their defense, you know? So Snead, I don't know if he's taken a step back, I'd say, but he was getting a ton of praise last year, and it doesn't really seem like it's quite there. Like, their personnel is just not that great, and I feel like it's kind of catching up to them, and they don't have like, if they don't have Chris Jones playing, like as we saw earlier this year, like their defense is so bad. So when at least he's there, like that's going to be a huge help for them. But I just don't think that they're like complete on the defensive side of the football. And then for the Titans, their secondary is so bad. They have a rookie in Elijah Molden at corner. They have Jackrabbit Jenkins, who's terrible. I'm not trying to be mean, but he's not. He's terrible. Caleb Farley. I love Caleb Farley long term. I think he has a chance to be very, very good. He just got hurt, and he was struggling before. And he's super raw. Like, he's one of those guys you probably wouldn't want to throw out there, but they don't have guys. I know that they have Greg Maben on their roster. You guys see the 49er flag in the background? I know who Greg Maben was. He was a guy that was stashed super, super deep on this depth chart. Kind of miles beneath Ahkello Witherspoon, just for reference. So it's not really that great in the secondary. Kevin Byard's amazing. He's a great player. Monty Hooker's all right. So their front seven is good. I'll give them that. Like, their front seven is really good, so it does help. But like, teams are still able to pick apart their corners. So for me, like, I don't think they're like super complete for like a true like Super Bowl contender. But like, the Titans are going to make the playoffs, so they're going to have an opportunity to. And if we see Derrick Henry just have 3 games in a row or 2 games, whatever their seeding is, a playoff run where he's just going off every game, you could very well see them in the Super Bowl. For the Chiefs, it's kind of the same thing. Yes, they might barely squeak into the playoffs. I do think that if they lose this week, you kind of start getting worried. Like, are they going to miss the playoffs? Because there's like a lot of teams that are going to win. It could take 11, 12 games to make the playoffs as the 7th seed. Like it could be like that because it's not like a ton of like super top heavy teams. So I think you get concerned, but if they're in the playoffs, like I said, like even though they're not like true like Super Bowl, caliber criteria or whatever, we all could see a path where they're the 7th seed and Mahomes goes crazy for 3 games and they win 3 shootouts. So they both have chances. I don't think this game means a ton for the Titans just because they are going to win that division, but Chiefs, it could get a little scary for them. But that's all I got.
I feel like the biggest thing that could come out of this game is the legitimate Derrick Henry MVP case. I think that it's very clear that he is that entire team. Ryan Tannehill is not throwing the ball. He's not the guy. Like, he's a guy that I like as a guy that can kind of run an offense, but he's not doing anything special for them. He's not hitting guys in the right spot. He had a play that would have been a touchdown to Julio Jones. He's throwing it behind Julio, and he's missing passes. Like, they've got the passing weapons. Derrick Henry is the heart and soul of this team, and he is putting them on his back like he does at the end of every year, and he's doing it at the beginning of the year. If he comes in and has just another monster game, which he's already had plenty of monster games this season, we could start seeing the MVP chance for Derrick Henry right away. But Matt, I think you're right. You know, other than that, like the MVP talk for the Titans, I would agree. Titans are most likely going to win their division. Chiefs, I still think, are going to sneak into the playoffs. They may not win their division, but that doesn't matter. If they're in the playoffs, they're in the hunt. I don't think anybody looks at the Chiefs as, oh, they can only win at home. No, Mahomes can go and beat you wherever he plays. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe for more current football content, and we will see all of you again next time.